Hello. Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm going to give it like a minute to let anybody who wants to join us online join us.
If you watch it online, can you like watch it later, like when it's not live, and still get the workshop credit, or no?
No.
Okay, you have to do it while it's like.
Yeah, because you're supposed to interact. That's how it is this semester.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on trying to revise a couple things for next year.
Okay.
Not sure what we're going to do next year. You definitely would have to watch. You'd have to attend all 4 in a series.
Yeah.
This time it's just 3, just because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
But we might move all of that into an online platform where it's only recorded and where you have to participate via discussion instead. So, not quite sure what it will.
Yeah.
We're always innovating and thinking of new
Yeah.
ways to do. But I think it's really valuable if you watch all 4 in a series, because they really do end up all going together. So like with this one, so this is the process module. So if you like come and you get the composing and the revising and peer reviewing, but you don't talk about editing at all, you're kind of missing part of it. And so, or if you do just revising, editing, and peer reviewing, well, how do you even get started? So there's like missing a piece could really mean that you're missing part of the whole process. So in the future, we'll have all of it. We'll require all of it, which isn't that much time, especially if we have it only recorded, we drop off the practice. So you'd be watching a 20-minute video.
Right.
Spending 5 minutes in chat would be done,
Yeah.
right? So we'll see.
No, it's a style one, and they were really helpful, and I missed one, but I mean, I still got a lot from it.
From the style,
Yeah.
The style. Did you actually attend it in person or
Yeah,
online?
I did it in person.
In person. Oh, good. We have a couple people. So let me find the camera. Hi, everybody. I'm Tara, and we'll get this started now. If you can hear me, please type in and say that you are here and tell me what your name is. Okay, so this is revising. And today I'm going to talk about what revision is not, define revision, talk about what we're revising to do, and how to get started on revising. It's really important to understand that revising is not editing. And we really want to keep editing to the end of the process. So let me start by talking about what editing is. Editing is when you go through and you look for grammatical and mechanical errors. You make sure your document looks really pretty. You make sure that all your punctuation is correct. You have all the indentations you're supposed to have. One of the things is when a student goes in and starts editing before they've actually written everything that they want to. So you've gone and you made sure that this entire paragraph looks awesome and all of your language sounds really good. But then let's say you go back to your thesis statement and that paragraph that you just spent 10 minutes editing now doesn't fit, but you don't want to let it go because you've just spent 10 minutes making it sound really awesome. And so we don't want to go to editing until the end. We really want to just revise and make sure that we've said everything we want to say in the order that we want to say it before we move on. So revising means making it sound better. We add, change, delete parts of the piece to help the writing flow. We turn worn out words into vivid words. We want to make sure that we're using really good vocabulary, strong vocabulary. We come up with interesting lead that hooks the reader. We add in specific descriptions, explanation, details. We organize our idea in an order that makes sense. In revising, we might actually take out quite a bit of our paper. Sometimes we might only keep maybe a paragraph because we found out that the entire paper is off track. So you don't want to spend a lot of time on editing because you might be restarting. You might have to get rid of a substantial amount. You might have to add a substantial amount. You might actually be moving paragraphs around a lot. So because of that, we really want to think about revision as making it sound better and making sure that we've met the assignment guidelines. Revision literally means to see again, or to again revise, again see. What we're doing is we want to walk away from a piece of writing, come back to it, and reread it as a person that might be our audience, that might be somebody that would be reading our paper. And we want to think to ourselves, what is it that I'm trying to do? What am I trying to say? And am I achieving that goal? Am I achieving what I want to achieve? So you're seeing it again. You've walked away, you're coming back with fresh eyes. When we revise, we can think of this idea of arms. So we can add, remove, move, and substitute. You might want to add some new details. You might want to add some explanation of the evidence that you've provided. You might need to remove something that's off topic. You might move around some paragraphs, and you might substitute words or substitute ideas in place of other ideas. We could also revise to some of these bigger things. I'll walk over here, see if I can't get on camera a little bit. We might revise for content. So when you're thinking about content, we want to go in and say, what is the assignment asking me to do? What class are you in?
ENC 1143.
You're in 1143.
01.
And you're in 01 and 01. So in 01, you're being asked to work on discourse. So when you're revising for content, you're thinking, am I actually talking about discourse? Have I talked about discourse in a meaningful way? Is that in here? A narrative? Have I talked about narrative? Am I talking about humor? Is the content on point? So you really want to look at content-wise. Have I done what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I have the right amount of disciplinary content in my text? Then you want to revise for focus. What does that mean? How do we know if we're focused? What are we focusing on?
The thesis.
Right, so you go through and you say, here's the thesis statement. Read a paragraph, then reread your thesis statement. Does it match? Read the next paragraph. Reread your thesis statement. Does it match? When we're reading for revising, we're not reading it from beginning to end. We're going back and forth, we're reading parts, we might read it out of order. You really want to be reading for certain things. So when we're reading for focus, a paragraph, topic sentence. Does everything in the paragraph fit the topic sentence? Does this entire paragraph fit my thesis statement? Always going back to make sure that it's focused and that there's flow there. Did one idea go from the next? If it didn't, how can I add a transition to go from one idea to the next? So that all helps with focus. Then clarity. What does clarity mean? Have you heard this? Teacher says, that's not very clear. What do they mean by that?
Maybe the wording is off.
It could mean that a specific sentence, the wording is not very clear because one thing that students have when you're learning how to express ideas, new ideas, in a complex way, or you're trying to put ideas together, sometimes it doesn't come across very clearly because it's new to you. You've never put ideas together in this way before, and so it doesn't seem to come off in a way that makes a lot of sense. But when you talk to somebody about it, it's a really complex idea. It's a really awesome idea. So you want to make sure that all these ideas are coming across clearly. One way to do that, if an instructor here says, this paragraph, what you're trying to say here isn't very clear, talk it out. Go to somebody and say, okay, you're not in my class. I just ordered your dog. Whoever, dog, fish, somebody that's not in the class, say, hey, I just need to talk to you and tell you what I'm trying to say. Now, when I say it, is it clear? This happens all the time with students. You come to my office, you sit down, and I'm like, this isn't clear. Tell me what you were trying to say. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do you realize how awesome that is? And then I take notes, and then I turn it back around to you, and I say, look what you just said. And usually a student goes, wow, yes, that's what I meant. Sometimes it's just about talking it out. Sometimes when we first type it out, it isn't coming across very clear. So we want to make sure that our audience can understand what we're trying to say. Explanation. When I say this, explanation, and the next one, evidence, paired together, what does it mean? What do we want to do with evidence and explanation?
I would say state the evidence and then explain it a little bit more.
Yes.
To make it more clear, I guess, for the audience.
Right? Well, you have an idea, right? You have a topic sentence. You need evidence to support that topic sentence. If it's evidence from the text that you're reading, evidence from the text that you're analyzing, the discourse, you want some sort of evidence. But you can't just throw evidence in a paragraph and walk away from it. You actually have to explain what that evidence means and how it connects to the topic sentence and the thesis. So that those two pieces together are really important, and you want to go through and ask yourself, did I provide enough evidence to support my topic sentence? Did I explain the evidence fully so that my audience understands why this evidence is here? So those are two really important questions to ask yourself. And then this idea of flow goes back to all of this. We want everything to flow together. You want to have clear transitions between sentences within the paragraph and then between the different paragraphs. Any questions about these things that we want to revise to? Do you see how this is very different from editing? So when you see it on a list like this, it's like, oh, that's not editing at all. Getting started. The one thing that I tell students is you can't really write a great paper in one sitting. Maybe you could do this with a summary paragraph, but when you get to actually your actual paper, you can't expect to sit down, write it, and revise it all in one sitting. I mean, our brains just don't work that way, and it doesn't allow us to re-see. We go back to the pair of glasses. We want to put on a pair of glasses and re-see our work. So what I say is put it down, walk away, and then come back. We literally get away from it. Go do some other activity. Go work out, take a walk, take a sleep, whatever it is. Go watch a show. Just walk away from it completely. Then when you come back, have a plan. At this point, when you've walked away, in all of our classes, we have built-in peer review. So somebody has reviewed your work. Somebody has given you comments, or you have comments from the Writing Center or from your instructor. So have a plan. Look over those comments and say, we go back to the previous slide. We go back to this list and we say, well, based on what everybody told me, I need to work on adding more evidence and explaining that evidence. So when I sit down, I'm going to have a plan. My plan is I'm going to go back to the text I'm analyzing, the discourse I'm analyzing, and I'm going to find additional evidence, and then I'm going to explain it. That's my plan. I'm not just going to sit down and pick a paragraph and start tinkering with it. Actually have a concrete plan for what you want to achieve. When you're doing that, revisit the assignment sheet. Make sure that you've done the assignment and that you're meeting all of the goals of the assignment. Then you want to read all the comments on your rough draft, talk it out. Like I said before, one thing that you can do is talk to somebody about your ideas. And it doesn't have to be anybody in the class or anybody that cares too much. When I was in college, my mom is like the world's best phone listener. She will clean the entire house with like the phone to her ear and not say anything and not really hear what I'm saying. But she would let me talk it out. So we just have this relationship, and she does it to me too. When we have an idea or something that we're trying to work through, we'll just call each other and just chat. And the other person doesn't say very much, but just that act of talking really helps. So if you have somebody that will let you do that, call them up or meet them and say, look, I just need to talk to somebody about what I'm doing in this class because I need to get it out. And that sometimes helps. Read your paper aloud or ask somebody to read it to you. There's a lot of computer programs nowadays that can read it for you. So listen to it, see it in a different way, hear it in a new way. You can write sometimes lots more. So like I said, sometimes we have to delete a lot of information or we're still working on our ideas. So sometimes it might say, you might think, okay, here's my paper, keep it on one document. I have something else I want to say and I need to say, I don't know where it goes in this document. Open up a new document and write out that idea. Once you've written it out and you've thought about that idea, then go back and figure out where it goes in your document. You don't have to put everything on one document. I am the type of person that always has 3 documents open when I'm writing a paper and when I'm revising. The first document would be the paper I'm trying to write. The second document has all of the evidence that I want to put in my paper. What I do is, as I'm taking notes and going through, because nowadays everything's electronic, right? So I copy from all the PDFs of all of the pieces of evidence and I put that into a document and I cite it. These are the pieces of evidence that I think I want in my paper. And then I have a dump document because I work really hard to write stuff. Even though a paragraph doesn't fit, I don't want it to go away forever because I have a really hard time deleting and letting it go into the Ethernet. So I have 3 documents, the one I'm writing on, the one that contains all the evidence I want to put in the paper I'm writing, and then my dump document. Those ideas that aren't going to fit this paper, maybe I'll use them later, or maybe I'll decide I can put it in the paper. And I have those 3 documents open at all times. That's how I work. You as an individual needs to figure out how you work. Some people are really, let go. They'll just delete away, and it's totally okay. Some people can't. So think about what do you need and then have that available to you. So me, I have 3 documents, and one of them I might be writing out ideas. The other one's my formal document, and I put those pieces into my document. Then, gasp, print it out. This is like something very few of us do anymore. But there are times when I just need to print it out because I need to see it in a new way. Our eyes get tired of looking at a screen. Sometimes your eyes are just like, I cannot focus on this because this light shining into my eyes is not working for me. Or I really just want to go outside and not have a laptop in my lap. So I print it out, I go outside with a pen and paper, and I start marking it up. So it might be helpful to print it out. Sometimes it's helpful to cut it up. If your paragraphs are like so completely not in an order that's making any sense, you can print them out with extra space in between, cut them up. This was what I did in my freshman writing class. My instructor would tell us, print out your paper, bring it to class, and she'd hand everybody scissors. Now, cut your paper up. Every paragraph, cut it up, and then figure out how you can reorganize it. And so it's just this idea of getting physical, being able to see your paper in a new way, thinking that maybe going from what I thought was the most important idea to the least important isn't working. Maybe there is another organizational pattern that would work for this paper. And so getting physical with it really helps. Another thing that you want to do is take frequent breaks. You want to walk away, not just in between your first draft and your second, but in the middle of revising. Even if it's just getting up and getting a snack and then coming back and sitting down, or walking to get your mail. Whatever it is, take a break, take a breather. Do not think about what you're doing for a few minutes. And that doesn't mean 30 seconds to check Facebook or sending a quick Snapchat. It means actually taking a break, a good 5-10 minute break where you're not thinking about it. You've moved to something else and then come back to it. And another thing is allowing it to let it go. Like I said, sometimes we need to take huge chunks of our paper out because it just doesn't fit. Even though it's really an interesting thing that you found in the text, if it just doesn't fit your paper, it doesn't fit. And so we need to allow ourselves to let it go. And this is something that writers are really good at. Stephen King wrote an article about his revision process and how many times he would write a page, rip it up, throw it away, write a page, rip it up, throw it away, and have multiple endings to stories, have multiple directions the story can go in, but he would just let it go. It was just something that wasn't working. Let it go until you find the right words to say what you're trying to say. And then allowing yourself to rewrite, to really write again. Sometimes it means you have to start over. And that's what good writers, they know when it's time to just say, I have to start over. I have to, not that I'm going to let go of all the ideas I had, but I need a fresh, new way to present those ideas. And so allowing ourselves to rewrite a paragraph or rewrite a whole paper. Any questions about, or any stories that you can tell about how you've done one of these things?
I've definitely like taken my essay part for project 2 and like rewritten it. After the conference with you, I like opened up the document and I had like multiple documents open and I would just kind of copy and paste wherever it needed to go and like add more paragraphs to it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you keep the other documents, or did you end up throwing them away?
I think I kept one of them, which was like the rough draft of it, but a lot of it I think I just deleted.
There you go. That's awesome. How about you two?
Like having to rewrite it, because when we do summaries, it's like in between 240 and 260.
Yeah.
So I always go over 260, so I always have to take out some of the information.
What type of information do you find you're taking out? Details or?
Yeah, I think I go more than I should in explaining. Maybe I explain it too much.
Okay, so you're double explaining it, being a little redundant. Yeah.
Whole taking break things after I had my conference with you the first module. That really helped me with the reading.
So taking a break, coming back to it.
Because we had a few hard readings. That seemed to help understand it a lot more.
Yes, I find that too. I'm a big proponent for taking breaks. I feel like I need to take breaks. Otherwise, there are times when I'll push myself too far and then I start not making sense or I start to get off focus. So those breaks are really important. So we talked about what revision is not, defined what revision is, talked about why, what it is that we're revising to do, and how to get started on revising. This would be an example of a sample reflection and revision plan. So one of the things that we want to do is make a plan, and this is an example. Thank you all for your comments. I can see now that this summary does not have a clear thesis and reads more like an outline than a summary. There are things I'm going to work on revising. I will start by rereading G and watching Tara's video again. I think I missed G's DD discourse distinction, and this needs to be my thesis. Also, I need to chunk the information in G so that I can focus on presenting his ideas versus giving everyone a tour of his work. This means I'll have to write a number of sentences. If you see here, this would be what you post to your peers who've revised, who have summarized. So we want to thank our peers. Thank you for the comments you've given me. And then state what it is that you're saying. This is what I see that you're saying. So you're telling me I don't have a thesis. It reads more like an outline than a summary. And then you say, these are the things I'm going to work on. What is the plan? What are you going to work on? So here we said, I'm going to reread G. I'm going to re-understand it because I didn't get the thesis. So I'm going to reread it. I think I missed part of the distinction. This needs to be my thesis. I need to chunk the information in a new way. I need to reread it so that I'm not saying, first he says this, next he says this, finally he says this. It's not an effective summary. So how can you re-chunk the information? And then I can focus on presenting his ideas versus giving everyone a tour. This means I'll have to rewrite a number of sentences. So there's this idea that here's my plan, and here is how I will make things happen, not just I'm going to rewrite the thesis. I'm going to rewrite it by rereading, finding the information I missed, and then rewriting it. So this is the type of thing that you want to have. And you don't really have a summary that you've worked on because of where we are in the module, but let's see. I'm not going to make you do this today. What I want you to do, though, is think about, since you don't have, we're at the end of a module. This is kind of a weird place in the cycle to have this one. So what I want you to do is think about using the model that I just provided here. So right now you're submitting a summary tonight, and then you'll be peer reviewing over the weekend. On Monday, when you go back to write your revision plan that you should always be putting in the threads. If you haven't been doing that, get in the act of doing that. Think about really writing a solid plan. And then think to yourself, how is this different than what I've been doing? You know, before I said, oh, I'm going to revise it. I'm going to write a couple transitions. but what exactly are you doing? Why are you writing those transitions? What effect do you want that to have? So what I want you to do is on Monday, think about using this revision plan model as a model for you. Any questions or comments?
We can see these PowerPoints on Blackboard, right?
If you go to, they're not on Blackboard, they're on when you click on the workshop, it takes you now to the UNF Rights page, the Writing Center page, they're on there.
Okay.
Yeah. We've tried to streamline it and put everything on the website. Cool. Any questions or comments? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming today, and I hope that you find this helpful.
Yeah, thank you.